Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Fintech Friday show. Today, I'm joined by myself, Roy, and Tevis. Roy, how you doing?
It's good to be back. I'm doing well.
Yeah. Tevis, you're always here on time as usual.
On time. I was actually shocked this time around that we weren't already live when I hopped in because I'm usually like cutting it real close.
Well, I appreciate some honesty here. I thought you were going to throw me under the bus.
You were first, so I was like, I'm not even going to joke that Tanner is late because I'm like, he was the first one here. So I don't know what's going on. Dogs are getting along with cats. I like, who knows?
Somebody
and then the
it's
absolute latest person to the show, as always.
Hey, Steve.
I was not late. You guys left me in there.
Steve, you watching this game?
No, I don't want to jinx them.
It's on my other screen. I'll let you know.
My wife is watching it. I can't bear to watch right now.
Yeah, good. Don't jinx them because I put money on them. So
you don't know how to gamble.
I already jinxed them for you. No, they'll be fine. They'll be fine, Steve. Don't be like that.
Listen, I hope so. It's a big game.
They'll be fine, man. They'll be fine.
Big game.
Yeah, it's like a tie game right now in the fourth.
All right,
you don't have to give me the play-by-play. I don't need the play-by-play. I could put it on.
I'll let you know.
Guys, let's talk some stock.
Yeah, let's talk. Listen, you guys broke me down. I got to admit something.
What's that?
You know, they updated their website. They may be a technology company.
Wow, that's.
I mean, to be fair, the website's nice. Have you checked it?
No.
Okay, well then stop talking trash.
I mean, I'm just, I'm wondering, like, does that really constitute as technology, like updating the website?
No.
Yeah,
I looked at the website briefly. I was like, well, I was somewhat familiar with it before, but on the end, at least what I looked at, it wasn't a substantial change. It looked nicer. Yeah.
And they did that connection thing with Galileo to make things easier. I mean, I guess that
was good.
Constitutes. I mean, yeah, that's good, right?
Yeah,
maybe I've been too hard on them.
Roy, you said there was news this week for SoFi specifically?
Tangential, and this is Fintech Friday. So, we do lead with any SoFi news, and this is close enough. I thought about making a separate video. I'm like, hey, I'll just share it here, and we can talk just briefly about it, I think. And we'll go on to Mag 7 too. But if you want to throw this up, this was an announcement by major banks, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Citigroup, and Wells Fargo, looking to issue a joint crypto stablecoin. So a couple of things. This is entering this year. I was like, hey guys, this is your stable coin. I think everybody here is like, yep, absolutely is. And it's only been reiterated time after time, and this does this as well. Stablecoin is something that I think SoFi will be involved in. On the back end, we saw, maybe a month ago, there was quite a few hirings and job listings, some which have gone and look like they've been fulfilled, related to crypto. And so what we should expect from SoFi is when they have full regulatory approval to launch, of course, their crypto invest site. But I think there's a lot more coming. And there's things like this, which maybe SoFi won't be involved in. But I wanted to just give a word of caution on this. There still are regulatory hurdles, but this is something that you might see these banks launch before SoFi launches their invest platform. And the reason why is these banks can approach this as an investment, from an investment standpoint, basically saying, hey, we're partnering with maybe Paxos or somebody else, or maybe even on their own, and issuing a stable coin jointly, but they're not using it and integrating it in their system. Therefore, they're not violating any existing rules that are out there that are onerous, and I think that are going away over this year. So I just want to throw that out for you, SoFi bulls and folks. Like, if you see them announce like, hey, we launched it, we're good, and you're like, where is SoFi in all this? It's more of a, hey, we've launched it and it's ready to be used. And once we have regulatory approval, we can use it. And SoFi quietly on the back end is building and working on crypto too. So we'll see similar things as well. But I just wanted to throw that out there, guys.
So I want to stay on this topic for a moment, not necessarily crypto, but the whole technology thing. Did a lot of research this week. A lot of research. How many employees does SoFi have?
4,000 or 5,000.
5,000 at the end of 2024. Tanner's correct because he reads the 10Q. We all know he reads the 10Q and the 10K and everything. So yeah. So you guys have been trying to convince me that I may be losing it a little bit, and SoFi is not a bank, or not just a bank, right? So in my research, I got 5,000 employees doing techie things, right? So I looked at some of the big banks. Did you know that Citigroup in 2022 had an IT budget of $11 billion and employed 30,000 software engineers? And by the end of this year, they're going to hire 2,000 more, and they're going to have over 50,000 people in its IT workforce. 50,000.
Yeah.
They're doing nothing with it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what are you trying to say?
JP Morgan employing 50,000 technologists.
They're all coding in like Visual Basics or something. We don't even know what they're doing over there.
I'm going to tell you, 43,000 software engineers at JP Morgan. And last year, they had a technology budget of 17 billion, and in 2025, it's going to be 18 billion. So they currently, I started looking at their job openings. They have 835 open roles in software engineering. 106 are geared toward UI, 68 separate roles in user experience design. Its treasury service division rolled out a payments processing platform called Graphite and is completing its global liquidity platform. The merchant services team is building a full stack commerce platform, and the embedded finance team has built a fraud prevention platform. So I'm just wondering how these are not considered technology companies also, when they have, I mean, JP Morgan's got 10 times SoFi's employees just in the technology department. Now, when I listen to everything you guys say, you guys tell me it's margin, expansion. I looked at the margins. Did I look at the margins? I think what I put together is going to shock you fellas. So I looked at earnings before taxes because taxes can manipulate earnings quite a bit. And I looked at net income. With the big banks, I'll make this a little bigger for you guys.
Did you hear the tone in his voice?
So JP Morgan has an earnings before tax margin of 45%. Even Huntington Bancshares, which is a regional bank, over 35%. Bank of America over 30%, Wells Fargo over 30%. And the reason why I look at the earnings before taxes, because you look at SoFi, they have 7.83% earnings before taxes, but they have a profit margin of over 17%, which I'm sure the three of you know is because of the tax expense that they had that boosted net income last year. And that all came in Q3, I believe, or Q4, one of the two. I think it was Q3, if memory serves me correctly. But it manipulates it, and that's why with regular companies, I look at free cash flow, not net income. But, I mean, if technology companies are supposed to have higher margins, I mean, Hood's margins are 38.9% for earnings before taxes. The big banks are over 30%. I mean, how are these not considered technology companies, but SoFi is? I'm wondering.
Robinhood is considered that, I think.
So I think you're conflating a couple things. Like, technology companies have high margins, and what we're seeing here is a list of companies that have high margins. They don't necessarily, they're not causated. Like, there's no causation just because they're correlated, right? Like,
that doesn't make sense. But
yeah. So okay. So
okay. So let me put it differently. A bird can fly. A plane can fly. Not all planes are birds, right?
Like technology companies.
No. So what you gotta characterize as a technology company is not high margins. High margins is a result. What the input is technology. So what defines a technology company? And I'd love to hear from you guys. But like,
honestly, Tevis, I think you're going off on the wrong tangent here. I think
I love the tangent he's going on. Keep going.
No, well, so okay, key characteristics of a technology company for me are they make revenue through technology, right? Every company that operates today has a technology aspect. There is no company out there that makes money that doesn't have a team of software engineers. Even if they have to maintain the website, like you still need a team of engineers to do that, right? But they make money through technology. Technology is a core enabler of their products or services. They have a competitive advantage through their technology. They focus on innovation, research, and development. Like these are core tenets of what would constitute a technology company. And just because Citibank has more engineers than SoFi doesn't necessarily make it a technology company, because it doesn't, like, when was the last major technological innovation that Citibank did that gave it a competitive advantage through its tech stack over everybody else in that space? I'll wait.
I mean, I could go through the different liquidity platforms that they put in place, or pull up the investor deck and recite the thing straight from it that they put in there for you. But regardless, and I get it, SoFi is a younger company.
Not just that though, Steve. I want to bring up the fact that Noto said, "Hey, if you look at our 2026 earnings for 80 cents to 55 cents."
Okay.
What?
I'll hold my breath, but go on.
Whenever he said, if we hit 55 cents, that's because we think that the growth is expected to grow quite drastically. But 80 cents is actually much slower growth. Why would that be?
All I'm saying is there.
No more. All I'm saying whenever I ask you a question.
Legacy banking. I mean, if I go back to just legacy banking, I mean, it's in here too.
Slower growth.
Margins are nowhere near what the legacy banks
because
are
they're
doing.
not growing because they don't have aspirations
the
of
legacy bank growth. You just said legacy banks are not growing. You just said that. You know that's not true.
Not okay. Of course, it's
not true.
I get that.
Morgan grew its net income by more than triple the revenue SoFi does.
Yes, but not at the percentage that SoFi did. You can say the absolute number grew, but not at the percentage that SoFi did. SoFi 105% beat their expectations on net income.
I'm not saying they didn't.
Okay. So whenever they're throwing so much towards future growth,
margins and this and that, I'm looking at the margins. I'm not seeing good margins here.
Yeah, because they're growing so fast. But the opportunity, they have so much operating leverage that if they chose to throw all of it down to the bottom line in a race versus JP Morgan, I think they would win. Because the processes through their paperwork and all that stuff is so much more expensive to have branches than it is to operate on the cloud. That's not arguable.
Yeah, but JP Morgan does 60 billion in net income. I don't think they're worried about having branches.
That doesn't matter whether
that doesn't matter.
Of course it does. 60 billion in net income. They're not worried about having branches.
But
they're
that has
not worried
nothing to
about
do
that
with
impacting the bottom line. Their profit margin.
That has nothing to do with them being a tech company or not. You can have, I mean, you could have Fort Knox list as a publicly traded company, hypothetically, if they actually have the gold there. And it's like, hey, look at all this money that we have. Or, massive revenue generator that just an old company like Walmart. Is Walmart a tech company? They do some technology, but no, nobody's going to argue that. And yet they make a ton of money. Costco, no. So the amount of revenue they make, the amount of cash that they have, that has nothing to do with this conversation. But one thing that does, if you'll throw this up, Tanner, of course, Galileo, and none of us are really thrilled with the tech platform, but this was an interesting find by Steve, not the Steve that's here, that doesn't believe in the tech platform, and that's fine. But another Steve here on Twitter, he saw this connection, actually posted, I believe that this is new, Coastal Community Bank with Galileo. Now, we don't know what this looks like. It's one of the things that's frustrating about the tech platform is we're not really sure what these partnerships mean at all. It's very much a black box. But does this stand out to you? And I know, Tanner, you guys know the answer, but Tevis, Steve, in partnership with any other fintech?
Yeah, it's really interesting because that's the sponsor of Robinhood.
That's right. Yeah.
There you go.
Exactly. So his thought was, the connection deepens between, and I don't think that there's necessarily a connection like that, but it is very interesting. Something to keep an eye on.
A connection like that.
What's that?
You don't think that there's a connection between Coastal Community, Galileo, and Robinhood?
There could be, but it's one step, further than we know. It's speculation.
Well, is Robinhood themselves still on Galileo, or did they move off?
For their debit cards, but it's so small, it's kind of a joke. So
No, I mean from a connection perspective, I can see how
Yeah, it
you know,
exists.
But
Yeah, so we don't. I mean, we don't really know what.
explain to me, like seriously, how is SoFi a technology company at this point?
Brother,
Like, really?
we're moving on.
No, I'm serious. They don't have the margins. They don't innovate. They make the majority of their revenue and contribution profit from financial services and lending. They do everything that traditional finance does, and they don't even have the margins. So how are they a tech company?
Moving on.
You can say that what they do is what traditional banks do, but to go on an app on your phone and get $100,000 personal loan that is approved and sent into your account same day, there's not a bank that does that. There's not a bank. This is not what traditional banks do. SoFi makes it seamless. They put a regular banking experience.
Sure, if I went onto my banking app, I could get a loan same day if I wanted to.
I mean, maybe
Pretty
through
sure.
private client or something like
Pretty
that.
sure I can get a loan right now.
Yes.
You,
But can the average person out there? No.
I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to say what bank, but it's one of the bigger banks. Pretty sure it's same day.
and that might be true, but that's not normal. And
I'm just saying it doesn't.
honestly,
feel
I
like,
could probably question that as well. Going through,
I mean, I can show you privately, Tanner.
Let's
But look,
move on.
I have a lot of SoFi shares. The whole reason I invested in this company, or the main reason, was AWS of Fintech. And I still believe they can get there. I am not a SoFi bear, but I'm having a very hard time believing that this is a technology company at this point in time. And I really want you guys to convince me that it is. I mean, we're not seeing anything that is showing that they're doing anything differently than anybody else.
Yeah, but Steve, like, what difference does it make if we convince you that it is or not? You're still going to hold the shares, even though you acknowledge it's not.
I hope they get called away, actually, but I don't think they're going to.
Okay, well, that's a different story.
a company that's growing at 30+% rates, that margins are expanding regardless of sector, is exciting. And to top it off, if you have a total addressable market that is growing over time, that should be exciting. They're adding on new members. They're finding out ways to get them on the platform cheaper and cheaper every quarter. They're finding out ways to increase their average revenue per user on the platform. And the longer those customers stay on the platform, they get stickier, they get more products. They're coming out with new products that, help their users and take more money from them.
You guys, and then we can move on. The three of you all own Robinhood. I don't own Robinhood. Okay. I sold Roy's beautiful gift to me like an idiot. All right.
Which was not allowed.
If you had to choose right now between putting your money in one or the other, which one would you go with?
At these prices, SoFi. SoFi gets to 24 before Robinhood gets to 120. I think that's fair.
I think over the next 2 years, SoFi will probably outperform. 5 years and out, I think it's easy Robinhood. Easy.
Tevis?
Yeah, same answer as Tanner. Like, if the valuation is a consideration, then like SoFi is more undervalued at these prices than Robinhood is at 60 billion.
Yeah, I think the problem that I have is I think Noto really rubbed me the wrong way with not wanting to discuss the roadmap on Liz's podcast. And Vlad just comes out and drops bombs about everything that they want to do. And it's everything that SoFi should be doing. Now, we don't know that they're not doing it, to be fair, but to be a top 10 financial institution by market cap, you need everything that Vlad just said that they will be doing in the next 1 to 2 years. And it's a little concerning when we're not seeing the things that I believe we all feel are important, regardless of what position in the pipe they are, but we're not seeing what we need to see on the AWS of Fintech. And I still believe SoFi is the only company that can deliver that. But when you have these big companies that are allocating tens of billions of dollars a year to their tech budgets, it makes me a little bit concerned that they will ever go on to a Galileo Technisys stack, and that the potential for them becoming a client is becoming null and void at this point. And that is very concerning to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair criticism to say that on the communication side, that Nodo has not been um, at the same level as Vlad is. I think that's fine. But I think until you see something in the actual financials that shows any sort of slowdown in their performance, I don't think that we can like that was a 2022 bear case, and ever since then they've been doing better and better.
I
Like
get that, but the market doesn't care. The market really doesn't
that's
care. I mean, whatever they do every quarter, when they beat and raise and put up very good numbers. And look, my last article, I was still bullish. I did not go neutral. Okay. Their numbers from a growth perspective are great. They are delivering on what they are doing. The market doesn't care because the market views them as a bank. There's no other way around it. That is just what the market views them as. Otherwise, we'd be past 15 right now, but we're not. We're hovering around 13. And we all thought that it was going to break out, and it didn't. It started to, and then it collapsed like every other time. And the only way they're going to shed this perception is by truly embracing the technology side and getting that narrative out there instead of they're a lending company, because lending is not exciting to the market.
yeah. I get that. I mean, if we want to look at what date works for you, like in the last year, let's say, you bought the SPY last year, say like 365 days ago, you're up 11% today. You bought SoFi a year ago, you're up 86%.
Oh, that's not a fair conception of it, because look at where SoFi was to get to that point. Look what happened before. Go since SoFi went public versus SPY. SoFi's up 30%.
Yeah.
It went back at 10.
But I think that the company will, if they continue to execute over time, their fair value will continue to climb and the stock will be appreciated. I don't think that every time in history was a good time to have bought in SoFi. But to say that the market is just going to continue to hold this stock under and under and under is just, there is time for appreciation in this stock. You know, over the long term, they will continue to add more and more members, bring on new money, bring on new profits. You can't hold that down forever.
I agree with you that they have a lot of potential. The question is, how do they break this narrative? And what's it going to take?
Steve, this is just a question of price, man. Like, we've been having the same conversation for the last 4 shows. And I guarantee you, if the stock was at $20 right now and nothing had changed, you wouldn't be having a conversation about, oh, it's not a tech company or whatever, because it wouldn't have been a point. Because
Kevin, when it went to
realized,
I was saying it.
huh?
When it went to 16, 17 earlier in the year, I was saying it's not a tech company. What's changed?
No, but my point is, there is a price where it matters for you to say it's not a tech company and Nodo doesn't communicate and all this stuff, because you attribute that price to whatever the company management is doing. But if the market was irrational in the other direction, and in fact SoFi was at $25 right now, you wouldn't be saying any of these things.
No, I'd still be saying it. I would just be making more money on my covered calls.
Your covered calls would have been called away.
They would have been called away. Yes.
Yeah.
But I may not. But if it was at 25, I may not have had a chance to write them at 15.
Hey boys, my covered calls on Nvidia expired.
Oh, look at that. How did your covered calls on Nvidia do? Let's change the subject.
They went through successfully, made my money, and could have been a lot more risky, but I wasn't.
No reason to be.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying it didn't even hit 140. But yeah.
Note that this week with earnings, the IV is going to be significantly higher, so the premiums will be higher.
I'm going to wait through.
Wait until Thursday to do anything.
You can wait, or you can do it, but you do it like way out of the money. Like I don't know what that strike is, like 190 or something like that. You'd get pennies, but you'd still get something. But
for how long out? For 190?
A week.
Jeez, I don't even know if there's going to be chains for that.
I mean, I don't look. It's possible. It's just not probable. I mean, I think if Tanner came out and said he was thinking about writing 150s, I'd be like, please don't do that, because this thing can go right past 150 this week. I don't know if 190 is realistic. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to 155 this week if they blow earnings out.
I've got my expectations for earnings. I can show you guys later, but it'll be my video that comes out tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm excited about NVIDIA. I really am. I think that this is going to be the quarter that they come out and the market does not sell it off.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
totally dumb to write close to the money over earnings.
Yeah. Unless
Wait,
you just-
what did DGen Tevis do?
yeah,
I'm
he
bringing
did.
up Option Chain. What did you do?
I mean, I wrote this like last week. So
If I remember correctly, it's 145's May 30th.
oh yeah.
Wait, 135s?
145.
What
Oh,
is that right now?
That's 98 cents.
No, I mean, what's the stock at right now?
131.29.
That'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't hate that play.
There you go.
It's a little
But-
close, but I don't hate it.
He wrote that about the same time that I wrote mine. It was a little bit better because the stock ran a little bit whenever I called him. And then he
Yeah.
goes, oh, I'll write him past earnings. And he made like 4 times the premium that I did.
Well,
And Roy,
you're the
190
reason I called. I wrote those because you called me. And you're like, I wrote NVIDIA, and I'm like, screw it, I'll do it with you.
Yeah, I did some too.
Boys, I love it.
You
No, I'm
should,
going to do it. I'm going to do it again.
you should do it over earnings, man. Take advantage of that premium.
Yeah. Just do it way further out than you expect. There's an implied move. Look at the implied move based on the options chain. Go further out than that. And usually I do. I'm very conservative around earnings with companies like NVIDIA and Palantir.
Did you see the open interest on
doesn't
the
matter,
150?
It doesn't even matter, Tanner, because you don't plan on selling. So you can always roll this out. Like even if NVIDIA goes to, I don't know, 165 or whatever, you're going to have to roll it out like 3 months or 4 months. But like you're going to be fine.
He's not ready to roll yet, though. He's not done the research on how to do that.
Look at the open interest on 150. That's sick.
Don't do 150.
I don't
I'm
want
not
to do
saying to
150.
do it.
Yeah, nice. It's
Look
nice
at that
to have
open
you.
interest. 67,000 contracts.
Okay, wait, let's go through this. Let's find me a beautiful thing for Monday.
Monday the market's not open, so it'd be Tuesday.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. That's a your guys' holiday. Mine was last week's.
Yeah, but it counts for you guys because the market's not open.
Yeah.
It's one extra day for me not to get hit. It's
Scroll
amazing.
down further, Steve. We want more conservative, probably.
I mean,
152.
I will go down further, but I wouldn't go out past 155 because I don't think it makes sense. You
Yeah.
gotta get a quarter on those shares.
Yeah.
Look at the difference between 160 and 155. Insane. You get like double on 155.
Yeah,
And what's the date on these?
next week, the 30th.
Oh, these are real. Okay.
It's a 1
I
week.
think I got $2 for my 145s.
I mean, 155's at a quarter. I mean, the stock's got to move $24.
My
Yeah.
guess is over the weekend, usually long weekends in a bull market, especially after there's been a long break, unless there's some breaking news that does the other way, and there could be, usually the market rips on open, and that's the time to look to sell.
I mean,
So
what's
you're gonna get a little
crazy is where this is out to the end of the year. You could write 190s right now and get paid $4.80 a share for the end of the year.
That's
Yeah,
insane.
but I think it's going to go.
you
like,
can make
I
more
really
writing
think that
than
this
yourself.
company is going to push over the next few quarters.
Oh yeah,
I
think
mean,
so.
think about this. So does the rest of the market. On the 220, there's almost 7,300 contracts open on the 220 for the end of the year, and you're still
People
getting
think I'm
paid.
crazy for putting in these prices.
There are a lot of people believe you. I mean, you look at the 200. You got over 10,000 contracts open interest, and you're still getting paid $3.79 a freaking share.
I wouldn't do that, man. You lock up your shares for the whole year. Like just write weeklies and like you'll make up that premium in like 3 weeks.
No, but what I'm saying is, it's amazing that is that big of a premium for that high of a number.
Wow.
I mean, the stock's got to move quite a bit to hit 200.
Yeah, I would stick with weeklies for now, Tanner. I rarely do further out unless I need to roll.
Further than 1 week?
Sometimes I'll do 2 weeks at a time. I think 2 weeks is fine too. Like the main thing that you're doing by selling the option is when it's a weekly is you're selling theta, and you're also selling a bit of IV as well. So basically there's the extrinsic value. Extrinsic, do I have it right? That it will slowly decay as long as it remains out of the money, just because of theta, and it's a very rapid decay. So take advantage of that.
I
Ted,
started
I
doing
would
monthly
wait
for peace of mind.
a day
You
or
would
two. Is
wait?
not gonna matter. I would wait until Thursday. Let them report. Think about it like this. Let's say they report and they blow earnings out and it goes to 150. Okay. You're going to be able to sell covered calls after that move for such a bigger premium at the
You're right.
160. It's not even worth playing around on Tuesday for it.
Yeah, or they don't run, and then you get the free premium.
Yeah,
Just
or
Ivy.
they don't run. But
Do you know what Ivy Crush is, Tanner?
that's a good lesson.
No, not really.
In essence, during a expected period of volatility, it's usually earnings, but there's other events as well that come up, such as around major announcements where they said, "Hey, we're going to do this thing." So like what do they call it? It's not demo day, but whatever they call those Tesla events. The IV is always very high, just because people are expecting things to happen. There's a lot of excitement around that. And what happens right after the event, because the event happened, is that IV just is gone. It's destroyed. I mean, there's a little bit left. And so if this happens to people the first time that they're in stocks or options, that they'll oftentimes buy call options and they'll be like, oh, great. NVIDIA is trading at, I don't know where we're at, like 140, whatever. So I think it's going to go to 145. And so they bet, and the stock runs to 145. They're like, yeah, we're right. And they lose money because freaking IV has been crushed, and those options are no longer worth really anything except for basically what they're worth with remaining theta, a little bit of rho, but basically whatever they are in the money. So if it's like 145.32, it might be worth like 60 cents. And so they've lost a bunch of money just because they don't understand how IV works around those major events.
The event which had the volatility where it was expected to run has passed. Therefore, all of that volatility dies down and the stock goes back to its normal
Right.
volatility.
Right. So for selling,
for
selling, if there's an event that I think could just be like even last GTC, I always thought that people's hopes were higher than what people were expecting, because the real big announcements happen every like 2 events. So the middle, but a lot of people were really let down. So are you saying that if I am expecting something like that, then I can write decent covered calls through that event? And
in that event, they probably had a little bit more value. Like Tesla's days tend to have significant amount more. PayPal had one, which was like insane. I think it was a first look event, if I'm not mistaken, where they were announced. But those sort of things, there's more premium given just for the IV, and that's gone immediately once the event is over. So even if you're right on your bet for the stock, if you're buying, all of a sudden you've lost a ton of value. So the stock really has to run hard. Yeah. Conversely, that's one of the great things about selling is, like, even if the stock runs, like if you're far enough out of the money, it just, it's IV crush. That's what they call it.
Yeah, so. Dude, like you can basically write covered calls for 160 and the stock can run after Wednesday to like 155. And you might wake up the next day and you'll be down on your options as a result of the IV crush.
Yeah.
But don't
if
understand.
You're selling, you'll be up.
If I'm selling of the options, what happens?
You're gonna just get like 10 cents or whatever it is, so $10 total per contract. And
if I was to write them through that, but once I've written the contract, I just chill, right?
Yeah, exactly. You let it expire. The only time, by the way, I suggest to buy it back is either if you're like, hey, this is a temporary dip and I want to have the money. Or I want to have the shares freed up so I can sell at a later event, or if it's real close to the money, let's say you do sell 160s and it's Friday and it's like 159.13, buy those back. It'll cost you some money. You might have even lost a little bit on that week, but after hours, it depends on the broker. I think it's up to an hour. I know for sure that at least 30 minutes after the market closes, you can still exercise your contracts. And so you can think that you're safe because the market closed, and you're not safe if after hours move happens and it's very volatile. Then all of a sudden those get called away. So, but usually, like if it's not anywhere close to the money, you just let those expire and it's fine.
And to piggyback off of what Roy said, if you buy them back on the Friday afternoon, and if you want to rewrite it for the following week, you're better off doing that on Friday rather than Monday,
Usually.
because you're going to lose premium, because it's going to open at a lower price point because it has less time.
Yeah, the only exception to that is if it's after a holiday weekend, a long weekend, markets tend to run on Monday, and so usually I don't. But yeah,
gotcha. All right, let's switch the topic. I know we all want to talk about Steven's fitness choices because, wow, bro, you look great.
What are you talking about fitness choices?
What did I say? Did I say fitness? No. Your outfit. Your
Talking about
Fit.
fashion choices. Your fashion choices. You look great.
You want me to get dressed up for this? Put a suit on?
You did get dressed up. I'm saying you look good.
What are you talking about? I'm wearing a freaking white t-shirt and a vest because I have the window open.
What is that, a Patagonia vest? I mean, come on.
It's whatever I grabbed.
Leave it to Steve to always take it for sarcasm, like like it's a genuine compliment, bro.
Just the most New Yorker thing. Hey, I'm like, hey, you look great. Let's move on to the next topic. Hey, what the fuck? I'm walking in.
What's
Get
crazy,
out of here.
Tanner doesn't even realize that I freaking have the thing on that he had. I was making fun about having a ripped hat. I wore it specifically for him.
Did you?
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Steve, you should have watched the game, bro.
Don't tell me.
I won't tell you.
I'm just really happy that Juan Soto
fitness.
is on the Mets. I'm so happy that Juan Soto is on the Mets, and he is not a Yankee. I'm so happy.
How did the Mets do tonight?
Who cares?
I care.
You didn't know. You didn't. No, you. Oh my God!
I told you this.
All right, you and I are gonna have a private conversation.
I think I single-handedly tanked all New York sports tonight.
We're gonna have a private conversation.
All right, let's go.
Let's talk about Google I/O. 2025 Google's I/O event was a spectacle for us Google bulls. Not all of us here, but for Tanner Manson, I had quite a fun time watching. I'm curious, did all four of you guys get caught up? I'm sure Steve did. I mean, you read everything that comes out.
What? Where do you see four people? You don't count. You said you four guys.
Hey, you're not a person, Tanner.
No, but he doesn't count if he's asking if four guys read it.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
I'm just wondering where the other person is. That's all.
I stick to my words a lot. I said your fitness. I meant I don't even remember what I meant to say. Fashion, whatever. All right. Not the best speaker. I said Botan the other time. Everyone rips me apart whenever I say that. Did you watch the Google event or no?
I didn't watch it, but I got the summary. Yeah. Read through.
And what were your guys' original thoughts? Let's start with Tevis, because I need some relatively neutral opinions.
Yeah, I didn't watch it. I didn't get the summary. I saw the VO3, which looked cool, but that's pretty much it.
VO3 was cool.
It's going to be crazy as that thing gets better. How it's getting to that point now where it's going to be hard to distinguish genuine videos with AI videos. I've seen over the course of the weekend some videos that I haven't realized were AI until like halfway through the video, of politicians doing speeches, and it's so like smooth, and it's going to get really, really scary out there to not be able to trust anything you see online.
Yeah. Steve, what was your original opinion?
Yeah, I mean, look, come on.
This was the original 2 years ago, by the way, like the first AI video 2 years ago.
I think that and there's something in there that I think people may have missed, or for people who didn't watch, I'll go over that in a moment, but I think that this was very much needed. Obviously, the market took it well, but there was so much in there that separated them from Apple. And the reason I say separated them is because I am, for the first time in a long time, worried about people leaving the Apple environment over the next 1 to 2 years and going to the Android environment. I mean, AI mode in Google search is going to be pretty interesting. The 2.5 updates on Gemini is going to be interesting. But Android XR and Project Mohan, I mean, the smart glasses, I think that is the future. I've been saying that for at least a year and a half. And I never really put Alphabet in that realm because I always thought it would be Meta and Apple. But when you think about the ecosystem for Alphabet, they have what Meta does not have. They have the calling, and they have everything integrated from email to Google Meet to everything else. And I think if they can really perfect that, that's going to be a game changer. Look, you guys just said with VO3 and Flow, the generative media tools, but the subscription plans on the AI is where I'm getting very excited, because the Google AI Ultra for $250 a month with the high usage limits, and then the AI Pro for $20 a month, those are going to be huge, and that's going to scale into the developer tools. And there's just so many things that, for the first time, I'm worried for Apple. I don't think that they're innovating at the speed that Alphabet is. And if you truly get, for your phone for $20 a month, a true assistant on the Android platform that can do so many things for you that Siri is not able to do, you may see people leave.
Steve, is Apple a tech company? What are their margins?
No, okay.
Apple margins would surprise you. Would you like to know what Apple's margins are? Because I actually have what Apple's margins are.
No, we would not.
But they would surprise you. They're
20 something percent margins.
hold on. Apple's margins are 31.72% on earnings before taxes, and their profit margin is 24.3%, and they generate $97 billion in net income.
It's so high because
their
they're not.
margins, a quarter of every dollar is net profit.
Yeah, it's very high because they're not growing at all. That's why.
Yeah, and I've got actually a video coming out tomorrow, and I don't think we'll get into it too much because we want to stay focused on Google and maybe Microsoft as well. But Steve and I have a gentleman's bet 5 years out.
For charity. Let's be very clear.
For charity. And specifically, I'm betting that the S&P 500 outperforms Apple from today, 5 years out. And Steve is betting the other side of that. I'll go into the rationale of why in that video that's coming out tomorrow. But yeah, this event, like I was already thinking that, but that was the biggest takeaway that I had from this event too, Steve. I thought it was Google's fineness of these type of events. Innovation is reaccelerated, and almost everything is going well for Google except for her 53% of their revenue source, which is search, which I think is in danger. But I think that exactly what you said, Steve, is right, that Apple is very vulnerable. They're not innovating, exactly like you said, Tanner. I don't short companies, and I wouldn't be shorting Apple, but man, I think they're going to underperform, and they're just going to really struggle. There's a lot of reasons why, but this event really showcased that, I thought.
This event showcased why they're going to underperform?
Why Apple is going to struggle and Google, like that segment of Google's business is going to thrive. Problem is, I just don't think that, I think that there's tremendous headwinds on that, on the search side of their business, the ad side of their business. And I don't think that this is a one-for-one replacement. It could be maybe, but that's very cloudy versus we can see the trends as far as search and advertising that are happening, both secular trends and also in the numbers. We see some of that from the Safari search numbers, which basically were down on Google. I know site-wide they were there, but the way Google is communicating certain things, you can tell that they're being very careful with their wording, and they're being very careful what they show people, I think because they realize that they are in a vulnerable position. That's one of the reasons why they're ramping up what they're ramping up. And this also felt to me like, as well, Tanner, even though it was the best Google event they've had in at least 5 years, and they are accelerating as far as innovation, like some of these products, a lot of them, I mean, they're just not going to see the light of day. Some of them will. I think some of them I'm a lot less excited about, specifically the AI component with the personalization stuff than you were, just because I was like, hey, this is something that they should already had. It was a logical step. It wasn't a surprise. So maybe you were surprised by it and I wasn't. And that's the difference there. But yeah, I think that that's going well for them, but it feels like it's not enough. That doesn't mean that they can't get there, but this feels like it's not rushed in the sense of Bard when they first came out with that, and it was just a debacle. But it feels like it's a halfway step, halfway measure, and they're having to be careful to not cannibalize themselves. So it's a challenge that they're in. Can they navigate it? I think so, but yeah, it's cloudy.
I think that they do need to cannibalize themselves the way that Apple went from, iPod to iPhone. But in a way, I think that the TAM expansion for AI assistance will be so much larger than search. Like search is something that you might use during the day to answer your questions. AI assistance is something that you might use all day, all the time.
Yeah, but
Just
Google
on.
has that. Google has that too. They have AI assistants.
I'm talking about Google.
So,
Oh, and you're talking about Siri.
do you
No,
guys
I don't care about
prefer
Apple. I think
iPhone
that.
or Android?
Sorry,
iPhone or Android? What do you guys use?
Have an iPhone.
Android, of course.
Android.
It's been
All right, so
far too
I
good.
use an iPhone, and we're rolling a few things out on IT. So I grabbed a tablet from work so I could look at the workflow on an Android versus a iPhone. And I just finished setting it up, and I gotta tell you, I don't know that I like the Android platform, but it's unfair because I haven't used an Android platform in 15 years. I think I got to get used to it.
Yeah.
It does look very clean, though. I just need to figure a few things out. But I got to tell you, I like their tablets a lot, and I think that their tablets can rival the iPad. And I never thought I'd say that. I mean, it feels really good in my hand. It's very fast, and everything just kind of works well. So that used to be the narrative for Apple, that everything just kind of works. I mean, these things are pretty good.
It is the weirdest part about the sort of quote unquote switching costs of going from Apple to Android. Is like if you press a button, you expect it to work and it doesn't, it's just a terrible feeling, And so it makes it seem like the Android platform can be worse whenever you're just coming from Apple, but it feels the same way going the other way as well. It's like, I just want
because you
to
get
press.
frustrated because it should work the way you think it should work. Yeah,
Right.
100%.
Yeah. But honestly, Android, you know what I just found out? I've been going like heavy into my health and everything. I'm tracking my sleep and everything. Apple has no like sleep tracking at all for their iPhone. Like it doesn't track a sleep score or different stages of sleep.
No, it does on the
They
watch.
do.
I looked it up. Supposedly they do not.
No, it 100% does because I tried wearing my watch to sleep a couple of times, and
They
I was
do.
able to see how deep my sleep was and everything.
Yeah, no, I have a watch. It tracks my sleep. I can show you.
I just search it now. They do
I
not provide
promise
a
you, I
detailed sleep
personally
score.
done it.
Oh, maybe not a sleep score, but they'll tell you how your sleep broke down in terms
Yeah,
of
REM sleep versus other
Yeah.
things. It may not have a score, but it shows you all the details you need.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Anyway, I always look at the sleep score because I know that like Whoop or Garmin or Samsung or like all those ones always have like this generic like one number that combines it all. And Apple didn't. I was really surprised by that. But even Aura or like Human Ring or whatever it's called, all those do.
I was thinking of buying one of those. Does anybody watching have one? How do you like it? Do you have one, Tanner? The Aura rings?
I've had an Aura Ring. I just don't like the subscription. I think that it's pointless for what it offers. So Samsung Health is really, really good. I prefer that. And then I think it's called Human Ring, Human Being, something like that. They're really good. And there's just not a subscription. So I'm just like, okay, well, I hate
Isn't Whoop
subscriptions.
supposed to be really good too?
What?
Isn't that Whoop band supposed to be good?
Yes, that's probably the best one. It also has a subscription, but Whoop's really, really good.
Isn't that mostly for running though?
I think it's for all general
I think
health.
it's for everything.
Yeah. But I like the Samsung Watch. That's been the absolute best. Their latest health stuff is just insane. Like it's like, I don't know if you could ask for more. It's like $300.
So do we think all the fears on Alphabet was overblown?
No.
Really?
I think that, well, Yes and no. I think that the fears were
Yes and no.
misplaced. And what really I think is a fear for me is some DOJ stuff. I mean, there's a little bit of that. It's going to be a headwind, but it's not going to be as bad as people expect. And I'm working on this. I've talked with the guys before too. I've got a lot of research that I've done, and I'm hoping to come out with some content on this maybe in the next week or two. But in essence, what's happening is a secular shift, and Cloudflare CEO really got me thinking along this way. But there is a lot of evidence backing it that the internet is done in the way that we know it, and Google has thrived in this environment over the last 20 years. I mean, the internet basically is run through them, and now that that's shifting, will Google be involved in the future? Absolutely. And they're doing a lot of things right, including MCP focus. But it's people are not accessing web pages as much, not in the same way. The old models, as far as like, hey, content creators do this, they get paid by ads, all that stuff. A lot of that is going away, not on YouTube or X, but specifically in web pages themselves. A lot of AI agents are driving volume. So volumes have stayed the same as far as internet traffic, but they're accessing the internet in a very different way than people. And so you're having fewer clicks. Those are accessing APIs directly, more and more and increasingly so. And a lot of people as well are starting, instead of search, just starting out, they're just going straight to an LLM. Or even in Google's case, it's a challenging thing because they're like, hey, we got the AI summary, and that's great. I use that from time to time. But it leads to fewer clicks, and it's just a tough place for Google with people. It's not as big of a shift as this. But did any of you guys, you're much younger, access bulletin board systems before the internet was really much of a thing?
Like forums?
No, not the same. So in essence, you had to get a modem and plug it in your phone line, and then dial through the modem a certain number. And it was like a server just for you. Usually there could be more powerful ones or multiple people, like usually just 2 or 4 were on there at the same time. And you literally tied up your phone line to do that. And you'd have access to all kinds of different like text games and forums and different stuff like that. That's how I accessed before the internet really took off, at least in Alaska. We're probably a little bit later. That all, kind of slowly shifted and then just died as the internet replaced that. And that's, I think, what's going to happen, but a much slower, more gradual shift with the current infrastructure of the internet. A lot of web pages are just like it. The web is going to be very different 5 years from now than where it is today. And I don't know that Google, so the tough thing for Google is, I saw in this event, like they get that. They're doing what they can to head in that direction. But the hard thing is, they dominate search. They dominate advertising. And if this shift happens the way that I think, there's a lot more competition in that new internet that they're going to be involved in. And I don't think they're going to dominate to the tune of 90% of the traffic flowing through them. Now, the question is this a much larger TAM that they can tap into, or at least they can moderate some of that through subscription revenue, which are really trying to monetize a consumer? And that's a big ask when consumers are not used to paying for something. To get them to pay all of a sudden, like is a challenge, especially when they come out with things. And I know they have cheaper options, but that $249 a month ultra whatever the subscription was, I'm sure you saw that, Tanner. Yep. That's ridiculous. Nobody's paying for that. Versus Microsoft's strategy is, instead of focusing on the consumer side, they're focused on the business side. And I think it's a lot easier sell for Microsoft. I think they're going to have an easier time.
I think you got to take a step back and think about the $250 subscription and what you can get out of the performance. And if it can save you time and money, people will absolutely buy it. And not just on an individual basis. That's going to be more geared toward a corporate assistant and somebody who does, somebody like Tanner, or somebody who does a lot of work on a computer. If that can streamline things and they can produce more, people will absolutely pay $250 a month if there's an ROI on it, especially if they can write it off for business. I mean, look, for what I do on the side, if it was to help me, I would pay for it in a heartbeat if it can save me time.
And honestly, it's not.
I get to write that off against what I make.
It's not just that. Look at the ancillary products that they also added to it. 30 terabytes of storage just alone is
Tremendous.
extremely expensive.
Tremendous to give that away.
You know,
Yeah, I wouldn't bet much on this subscription tier.
So-
It's going to be very niche.
But also think about this. So
yeah, but I think for freelancers and for like businesses, that's really what they're targeting with that. The $20 a month is for the average user.
Yeah, but how many of those are they going to actually sell? I don't think very many at all. It's going to kind of be like Trump's gold card. Yeah, there's going to be people that buy it. That's great, but it's going to be very niche.
yeah,
Yeah, but I don't think many people were
Hold on.
modeling that they're going to get 1 billion users at $250 a month. I think they just looked at a subsection of, you know, the users of Fiverr. Like that's really what it is. Like,
yeah, the bottom line is $250 a month for somebody who has a budget on tools to create productivity fits into a lot of budgets. And if that can replace other things that they are using and it's a net wash and it's still a write-off, people will buy it. It all comes down to productivity. If it increases productivity, people will buy it.
In terms of revenue, I think probably you guys agreed with this too, at least on the front end, it's not going to be a wash. Now, over 5 years, it could be, but they're going to shift the way that they get revenue.
No, I'm talking about the
And there's a lot of
250
question marks
subscription
on whether that'll work or not. And even Sundar, he mentioned and he said, "Hey, we don't know if or we will monetize this. We're still trying to figure that out." Essentially,
No,
and
that's not what I'm talking about. When I say a wash, for somebody, if somebody is spending X on tools because it helps them produce what they need to do for their work, then if this is going to offset some, let's just say somebody used the Canva suite or the Adobe suite, stuff like that, and they have X amount of expenses. If this subscription replaces that stuff and does it better, they're going to switch to this subscription. And then for other people who are straight line doing their own thing and using a whole bunch of stuff, if this allows them to get 30% more effective and produce more and they can generate a higher ROI because they're using this, they will pay $250 a month for that because it also is a write-off for them in addition to generating more revenue. Then you have the whole corporate side. If corporate people can become more efficient with it, this is going to be a business expense that gets written off. So
I actually don't like Roy, think about a full Adobe suite. Like people will pay for productive,
100%.
use cases.
I don't think so. Like usually,
It's their
and I
whole
need to find a
business.
case study on
Roy,
this.
we pay for so much Adobe and so much of this stuff.
No, I'm not saying that they won't pay for Adobe. When you get a package deal like this, and it's like, hey, you get 50 billion things, it sounds great on the surface. And there are some people that are like, hey, I use like 80% of that. It makes sense. But largely what happens is you go in there and you're getting a whole bunch of things that you're just not using and you don't plan to use, or at least use very much. And the problem is some of Google's tools are very second rate. Like, their Google Drive itself and their word processing, all that stuff. It just, if you're using that as a company, there's something wrong with you. I don't know any other way to put it. They've gotten better, but they're not great. And so there's this huge package, and I can't. There's a name for the phenomenon, but in essence, when you bundle all these things together, it sounds good on the surface, but people realize very quickly, or even on the front end, like, hey, I only use 3 of those, so it doesn't make sense for me to go after this bundle. And that's
the price
almost everybody.
not at
That's
that
almost
level.
everybody.
That would make sense if it was like $2,000 a month. It's
$250 a month is a very low price point for productivity.
No
Not for
one's gonna
most
complain.
people. You guys and us,
Right.
we're in the we're pretty well off, and so for us, 250 is like, yeah, whatever.
No,
250 per month for
Yeah, but it's
most
for-
people, even most freelancers, is a good chunk of money, even if
But
it is a
Roy,
tax write-off.
you're not looking at it from keeping the same productivity level. You got to look at it from, if you're paying $250 a month, it has to enhance your ROI. Otherwise, it's not worth it.
Wait, sorry,
And
what's 250 a month?
the Google subscription,
Their
So-
AI Ultra is
AI Ultra,
$250 a month
Like for
So-
businesses or individuals?
individual,
I'll
for
throw it up
anyone.
here.
anybody.
It's marketed towards individuals or like sole proprietorships, freelancers, that sort of thing.
So
Yeah.
if somebody was to pay $250 a month for this, they would need to be able to increase their productivity. And by increasing their productivity, 2 things would happen. One, they would be able to create more of what they're doing, so they would generate more revenue. or two, they would streamline their current processes and decrease the amount of time that they spend on their current workload, which would allow them to take on other tasks to make more money. Otherwise, this does not work.
Yeah,
But
look,
for 250, people will spend that if it generates an ROI.
Can
Yeah,
I
so-
add in also? OpenAI did this exact same thing for $200 a month, and they offered none of these extra bonuses just for an advanced model.
And how did it go for OpenAI?
They're still doing it.
Yeah, but did they get a lot of traction?
It's for startups and businesses, and I think that for Flow, it's different. It's not just for an advanced model. This is like you could be seeing this in potentially lower budget films or YouTube videos or something like this. Like, I don't see how ticker symbol U or something is not going to use Flow immediately.
So,
Have
Roy,
you used it?
I agree with you.
Tanner?
Where if somebody
No,
is not
I don't even
using
think
this
it's
to make
available to me.
money, if someone's not using this to make money, they're not paying for it. I agree with you 100%.
yeah, obviously. And look,
Obviously.
I think the problem with this is that the models change in terms of effectiveness so quickly. Like every 3 months, there's a race for who's the better model. And so even if I was a filmmaker, let's say, and I did get ROI for this, the only way I would pay $250 a month is if I'm making $1,000 a month using this tool or
Yeah.
more.
Yes.
And the problem is that I can pay $250 a month, but next month, Anthropic might come out with something that might be better than this, or whoever might come out with something.
Yeah,
that
you
might
can
be
switch
better
to the Anthropic model.
And so, like it's so uncertain the future on a very, very granular time frame where like every month I could be switching back and forth. Or realistically, what a lot of businesses do, since it's basically a write-off because it's an expense, they sign up to all 3 or all 4 models and they horse race them against each other.
Yeah, Scott Davies, he said the question is how good is it? That's a question. Google, you can go back, and I encourage you guys to do this if you're Google shareholders. I think is important. Look at their previous events. They are very good at marketing and showcasing their product, including the first look at Gemini and Bard. Like, it looked amazing. And then people actually picked it apart and they're like, okay, actually, this is trash and it's garbage. Google is good at advertising and marketing themselves and their products. And so you cannot read from this event Flow and be like, wow, this is going to do all these things. Apple, likewise, is very good at marketing themselves and their product. And usually, although not always, but usually the hype is not justified at all. And I think both of these companies suffer from that. So I would not, just automatically assume that, hey, all these people are going to flock in. They do offer a 50% off over your first 3 months, but that's still a lot of money for an unproven, unknown, untested product. Really, what they should have done if they were serious in scaling this is offer a 30-day trial or something like that to first-time users. Then people could actually test it out, build it out, and figure out like, hey, this is something that's indispensable that is enhancing my productivity. I don't think that they're serious on this. And there's a lot of their initiatives that it seems like it's just about optics and changing the messaging and narrative around Google more so than it is an actual ROI boost.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet the farm on
Yeah.
the 250 subscription by any means. I do think people will buy it, and I think that if it's not good, they're going to cancel in a month. But when it comes to search, Google Cloud is growing at 29%. They have constraints because there's more demand for what they can actually grow by. YouTube is growing. Services looks the same way that Apple services looked back in the early days. So even if search flatlines in the next year or two, or if it starts to decelerate, the acceleration in the other areas may be enough to offset it and still allow Alphabet to grow. So I'm not too worried about search. I guess I'm not worried about the way other people are, because I think the other pieces of the business, this is to me is a sum of the parts still. And I think the sum of the parts is worth more like 220 to 240 than where we are today.
Agreed. I think there's zero valuation going to the potential of Waymo. I don't know why there's no premium on Google Cloud. I just find there's so many parts of this business that like no one Like all the quantum stocks are absolutely running right now, and people are acting like
We-
Google has
we
no
talk about
quantum division.
I got
Yeah.
news for everybody, and I will die on this hill. Okay, these quantum stocks, regardless of what the price is doing, these companies are not going to out innovate IBM or Alphabet. They're just not going to.
Uh,
I will die on that hill. It's not happening.
I don't know if that's for certain. I mean, there were a lot of very big companies whenever the internet was coming. I'm like, oh, if this movement was true, then the big names of the era right now would figure it out. If fintech was really a thing, then JP Morgan would figure it out. I don't know.
As far as LLMs, like Gemini is very good. June had said that maybe I hadn't tried it in a while. No, it's very good, and I'm well aware of that. The problem is it so good, and can it be so good with the personalization that it's 90% dominant? No, absolutely
need to
not.
be.
You're going to have any LLM that gets.
It doesn't necessarily need to be, but there is going to be a shift in terms of revenue, and it's not going to be an easy time over the next couple of years for Google. And it's unclear whether or not that revenue will replace what they're losing as far as search dominance.
Right. Look at that, like the banks, where not to go back to SoFi, but like the Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, Citigroup, and Bank of America. I think the LLMs are going to structure that there's going to be a big 4 or 5 and then smaller ones, because they're all people are going to use. There's going to be a user group for each one, but there'll probably be 3 or 4 that capture the lion's share.
And how many big search engines are there
right now?
Yeah,
I mean, really one. I mean, Alphabet has 88 to 92% of search.
exactly. So it's going to be not as easy as people expect for Google just to like shift over and dominate, especially because the faster and the better that Gemini is, and with the AI summaries, and they're trying to figure out how to monetize this, it also eats into their ad business. It's just
that's the key. We don't know that they're not going to figure out a way to shift the monetization rate off of advertising, because look at Amazon. Where do they advertise? And they have the 3rd biggest advertising business in the US.
I honestly, I know I'm a TAM investor here, but I don't think that they need to hold up the same level of market share in the next space that they do now. It's just whether or not you guys think that their revenue is going to decline through that period or not.
I don't think it'll decline. I think it'll be a slower growth. Is more what we're looking at, and I think
lower than today.
Yes. Well, they're at 8%. Is that correct year over year? Was that the previous quarter?
I thought it was closer to like 11. I could be wrong.
What was the question?
Revenue 12. It was 12%. So I could see, I'm thinking, maybe about 8 to 10% revenue growth, which is fine. Like, I'm not saying Google is going to underperform the S&P 500. I would not take that bet. I would take Google any day and every day over the S&P 500. I'm just saying it's not going to be nearly as dominant, and it's priced in the way that it is for this reason, that there is a lot of uncertainty. I think, going back to that original question that you had.
You're a bear, dude. Or sorry, you're a bull.
The fears
You're
for
a
Google.
bull. You said it's going to outperform the SPY.
The web pages and search structure, 53% of
You're
the
a
revenue
bull.
of Google is
even-
being attacked and undermined. So
He's not going to stop talking.
everything else that they're building out is going fairly well, but there's a whole lot of uncertainty whether they can make that transition successfully, especially with their current CEO, frankly. I don't know that they have the right strategy, and I like Microsoft's strategy a lot better.
Everyone tweet out, Roy is a Google bull.
Yeah,
Absolutely
Roy.
not.
So
That's what you learned here today. That's what that means.
So
No.
regardless if you think Microsoft has a better strategy or not, I happen to love Microsoft, and it's the one that I don't own. I don't think I own it. I'd have to check my wife's account, but I don't think we own it.
Did you see their conference this week?
I did.
What did you think?
Spectacular.
Yeah.
Spectacular.
Roy, why do you take offense with being called a Google bull?
If you
I'm neutral on Google.
if you
I don't
think,
like
yeah,
to
but
be
if
called-
you think that it's going to outperform the S&P, the S&P is the yardstick for every company.
Yeah, it's like the definition.
If you think it's going to outperform, technically you would be bullish because you think you're going to get a higher ROI being an Alphabet than the S&P.
Okay,
Now,
well,
if
if that's your
you're neutral
definition
on
of
it-
bullish, then I'm bullish, but
If you're neutral on it, then you think it's going to meet the same expectations as the S&P.
I think
Your
it'll
bullish
slightly
stock-
outperform the S&P 500, not by a lot.
You're
If it's
bullish
gonna
the
outperform,
stock,
then
you're
they're
bearish
bullish.
the company.
I wouldn't even say that.
No.
No. Like the only thing that I'm bearish on Google, still CEO, still have concerns with their culture. I think you guys agree. A little bit of regulatory, but that doesn't really matter. It's the search. It's search and the secular shift that's happening with internet and advertising. And there are people that are paying attention, but most people are ignoring that. The market is placing in fears that I think are misplaced on Google mostly. But this is one that is seismic. Google is aware of it. Like you can even see, like in a lot of their announcements and blog posts, they're being very, very specific and careful what they show and what they don't show. Even in response to the Apple comments on Safari and that search revenue, you can see that they didn't dispute what was said. They just said, well, over your entire ecosystem, though, it's up. And basically, they're like, hey, things are fine for now. In essence, it's like, well, I mean, they could have said that with the Titanic, 10 minutes before they hit the iceberg. But the iceberg is there, and they're heading on collision of that as far as potentially with their search revenue. And there's a lot of studies that are outside of Google. Google says, oh, yeah, we're fine. But companies will do that, guys. They will absolutely continue to do that until they hit the iceberg and they're starting to sink. And then maybe, just maybe, they'll say, well, we need to pivot here. And sometimes it's just too late. I don't think that will be the case with Google. But external studies have indicated that search has declined actually quite a bit. I didn't pull up the actual study. Let me see if I have that. Well, this is not the direct study, but this is what I found. But there's several different studies here. AI overviews data. Search clicks fell 30% in last year. Impressions are actually up, but fewer users are clicking through websites. And there's several different studies, not just this Bright Edge.
Yeah, but in
Who
fairness,
cares about this study?
That could
look at
also
this. I mean,
be-
cost per impression, cost per click are not going the right direction. There is, I
but
think
their
we've looked
search
at this
revenue is up.
Impressions and paid clicks are not looking good.
Yeah, but in fairness,
And we're
Roy,
seeing weird things
Roy,
like this,
Roy,
where
come on, give it-
AI node, they're hiding their traffic. They're
Roy.
hiding their traffic
Roy.
because they do not want people to
Filibuster.
actually see it.
It doesn't matter what any of
does.
those studies say because revenue is up year over year in search. That's
And do
it.
you know why, though? Do you know why?
It doesn't matter why.
It does.
They're
It's a
increasing pricing.
temporary
Yes, I
thing
know-
that they can
I
do.
know they're increasing pricing, but it doesn't matter. Revenue is up.
This is in essence what yeah. We'll just
Revenue
see.
is up.
Time
You
will tell.
cannot argue with the numbers. Math is math. The revenue is up year over year.
They're cannibalizing their own dominant search. And they're also the way that they're being able to keep the revenue up is by charging more on click. And they claim, but they have absolutely no data to back it up. They claim that, even though there's less conversion as far as these clicks and the cost is going up, they're more effective, they're more efficient because of
Are
AI.
companies still paying for it?
And there's zero
Are
evidence.
companies
Companies
still
are.
paying
You
for
know
it?
why, Steve? Because
I do know why.
companies tend to change very slowly with something that works. But what tends to happen, it's kind of like the frog in boiling water, that whole myth thing, where just the temperature keeps getting raised and they get boiled alive. Some are realizing like, hey, there's an issue here. There's a problem here.
The issue is
they're
not with
jumping
search. The issue is with people spending too much time on social media, which is bullish for Meta, because more and more people, instead of surfing the web, are scrolling through Reels. That's the big thing that people don't talk about.
Okay, so let's move on really quick.
X.
Let's
People
move
are
on really
scrolling.
quick.
Yeah, but YouTube benefits from that a lot.
Hold on. Roy. Meta, which I know that you also have some
Going to it
moral
now.
issues investing in,
bullish on them though.
versus Google.
Easy Meta.
Easy
Okay.
Meta.
Yeah.
Not even.
They're not.
I
The
also-
reason why is they're not disrupting their own business, and the secular shift that's happening is not going to disrupt Meta.
Got you.
It's funny, Roy. I watched your video earlier today, the stack ranking, and even before the reveal, just from the conversations we've had and bootlegs, I guessed everything exactly right after we revealed it, which
Even
is kind of
Meta? Huh.
Meta didn't even, it wasn't hidden in your thumbnail.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So Meta and Microsoft were not hidden and everything else was. And I was like, oh, I know what the top two are going to be. And I know what the bottom ones are going to be.
I was thinking about putting Palantir in there. It's not Mag 7.
Yeah, I would have.
Okay, so for Gemini, really quickly, I wanted your guys' thoughts on if Gemini can be the leader in the AI space versus the open AIs of the world versus the Anthropics. I'm curious your thought. And
Can
really
they?
quickly,
Yes. Will they? Who knows? The big thing that they have is Google Cloud to bundle it off of and cross sell.
it's a big one.
And you can make the same argument with Microsoft and ChatGPT, but it's not going to be a one ring that rules them all. You're going to have multiple winners. It's going to be some winners take most in this. Probably be two or three that cannibalize the market.
I want Roy's thoughts here because I know he has strong opinions.
Well, I think that's true too, and I think Gemini is going to be one of those winners. So I'm not discounting that at all. I do think that some are going to be more specialized than others. For instance, Claude is, very much for programming and back end type of stuff that regular users are not going to see. But Anthropic is doing some amazing things, better than I frankly gave them credit for. Grok will continue to exist and be fine. I think Llama 2 is going to be fine. Open source is very compelling there. Perplexity is another one that continues to improve and really is more of a peer-for-peer competitor with Google. There's some others out there too. DeepMind. Help me with the Chinese one. There'll be a bunch of them, but I think that probably you're right, Steve. That in essence there might be 3 or 4 that are consumer-facing that get a lot of traction and use, and then there will be some that are very specialized, like the Claudes of the world.
Okay, but what do you think about the other businesses that Google has that they can tap into, like what you see on screen, that potentially those other companies may not have such available real-time data on?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
In a world of AI assistance, do you think that Google has an advantage because they can immediately tap into your personal context through Google, through YouTube, Google Drive, email, calendar?
There is some advantage there because it's a native integration, so you don't have to, you do have to give approval, but it's probably one step fewer than. But every app under the sun or every LLM under the sun will be able to access those as well, just through MCP or A2A. It's happening.
And remember,
it already has actually.
Something that we haven't said, but I'm going to expand on my Google Cloud theory. What if they embed it into the Android system and make that front and center all day, every day for all the Android users? And it just becomes ingrained in their minds to use that over another one. That's something that could very easily happen. And it just becomes recognition.
I think it does come down to, I think Microsoft thought that they were going to win in Bing with that same sort, or Microsoft Edge with that same sort of belief. But yet people, the first thing they do whenever they get a new computer, the first search on Bing is Google.
Yeah, it's hard to change habits.
That's because it was an inferior product.
And that's what Google's trying to do, is change consumer habits, and that's hard.
I will say this: I don't have Google on my iPhone. I use Safari.
Do you use Google for search though?
No.
On Apple, on iPhone?
I barely search on my phone, but I use Safari as my web browser. Yet on my computer, I actually use Internet Explorer, believe it or not. I don't even use Google on my computer.
I do too, actually. I don't use Internet Explorer. I use Microsoft Edge, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I mean Microsoft Edge. That's what.
Okay, I was like, how are you still using Internet Explorer?
You know what I mean, Explorer. But I don't have a need.
I like Chrome
to download Google. What's my need to do it? I know what I need to go to, so it's just another step I have to do. I don't need to do that.
Yeah, super early on, whenever ChatGPT originally came out, one of the fastest AI products to come out was Copilot. So I downloaded Microsoft Edge to take advantage of Copilot, and then I realized that it was a pile of dog poopy.
It's interesting to say that. One of the guys, I was in a meeting today, and we were talking about AI, and one of the guys in my office who's really big into it was talking about how much he uses Copilot. And I said to him, like, I really need to start playing with it more.
No, you don't.
I haven't given it a fair shake. And he started telling me all these things. I mean,
don't do it.
You guys don't like it.
I think that they have a lot of potential because it could talk about personal context. It could potentially access all your personal
I
files.
mean, we have enterprise licenses for it, so I'm going to play with the enterprise version, I guess, this weekend.
But dude, what's his name? Mark Benioff said it best. It's the new Clippy. It's dog crap.
I don't even know what Clippy is.
It was a assistant for Word that was
It was
really
the clip with the eyeballs.
Wow.
but cute. It was at least cute. So
It was cute.
That's one of the things too, where I was shocked at how bad Copilot was, and frustrated too, because I was excited. It's like, this is great, and I use this Microsoft suite just pretty much every single day, and it just didn't work. And I think that they'll fix that. But Microsoft has had issues like that. Fabric was another one of those issues on as far as the operations side. But this event that they had this week, I mean, you can tell that they understand the shift. They understand where they've gone wrong, and what they basically showed through their build conference was very compelling, I thought. More so. So again, Google had a great event for them. It was their best in 5 years. It was by no means bad. I'm just skeptical on, because they're smooth talkers in essence. Microsoft has not tended to be that smooth, and this event was really, really good. And if they deliver half of what they said in this conference, man, they're going places. I'm not investing in Microsoft. I was just that event actually changed my mind, just because I'm like, okay, I was seeing some things and I'm like, okay, they're understanding these shifts, they're building towards it. And then what they announce and what they launch, I'm like, okay, they actually get it, and they know what's going to work as far as what their consumers want to use and what they want to have access to. So it's pretty cool. It's a good thing for us consumers. And I would absolutely love to have an environment where you have, instead of just basically Google dominating everything, Google in the mix, Microsoft in the mix, and maybe work on some different things. ChatGPT, Perplexity, like 5 or 6 competitors out there grabbing this TAM. Competition is not great for businesses, but it's great for consumers.
What's it called? Satya Nadella is freaking awesome. I don't have any want really to buy Microsoft, because I don't want to buy the entire business. But if I could buy like Microsoft Azure and Satya Nadella, I'd be happy.
Yeah, but the Microsoft business is so good, though.
Yeah.
They're
very well positioned.
good.
Yeah. I mean, most of the Mag 7 is, except for Apple, honestly. Like,
wow, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say, if you avoid Apple, you can just you won't go wrong with any of them, really.
I mean, and that was like my tier ranking videos. Like, the lowest tier I had was C, basically perform or underperform the S&P 500. The rest, I'm like, all of them are going to probably outperform, and I know that they're a big part of the S&P 500. Some more so than others, like NVIDIA. Just like, in essence, that's where I come with Google. Is like, I have no idea why I would even bother with Google at the valuation of NVIDIA at these prices. NVIDIA makes so much more sense. The challenges to NVIDIA's
Google,
the challenges to NVIDIA's business are just not there in terms of the disruption that I see with Google potentially. There's not as many question marks hanging over their head. I'm like, that's easy money. Google, I think, is harder, and I hope it works out.
but they're not the same price. Or how do you see them as being the same price?
I'm not saying that they're the same valuation. Like, the valuation is what makes Google even worth a look at.
Yeah,
and when you realize, like, hey, they're priced that way for a reason. Although the usual thing that Google folks push back on me is like, well, Apple is priced at this. I'm like, yes, Apple is priced stupidly. That doesn't mean that Google should be, or Tesla. Look at how expensive Tesla is. I'm like, I get it. I'm not arguing. In fact, I put Tesla pretty low, and some people did not like that. So,
do we want to just spend 2 minutes talking about that, because of some tweets that came out this week around Elon? Basically made a tweet where he was, did you see this, Tanner? Where he was basically like, I've come to the realization, maybe too late, that the only way out is to increase GDP so we can grow into.
Oh, really?
Basically saying we can't do it just by cutting spending. And then some people were poking him about robo-taxis and Optimus, and he basically said hey, look, he's back to wartime CEO mode, fully focusing on getting this out as fast as possible, because Optimus has a real shot at increasing GDP in the way that he thinks possible, which is kind of interesting.
GDP at the expense of jobs. At the expense of a lot of jobs.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, that's fair.
The important thing is the production increases.
Nah, I don't think so.
Everything else can be resolved.
Oh,
Right.
really? Okay. Let me paint the picture for you.
Okay.
Let me paint the picture for you, Tavis.
Oh, really?
Oh, sorry.
Don't do this.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Paint the picture for me, Steve, please.
Okay, you're a truck driver, Tavis.
Yeah.
Autonomous driving's coming. Next 5 to 10 years, the industry gets overhauled, and same with the delivery industry.
Sure.
Okay. So I think that we can all say, whether it's 5 or 10 years, the likelihood of that is going to come.
Yes.
Okay. Optimus looks incredible, and I do think that there are a lot of people that are going to buy Optimus. It's going to start with companies, and I don't think we're going to be able to buy them for a good 5 years, if not longer, because I think the back orders on companies is going to be tremendous. Now, with robots, not only are people going to utilize them to do the lawn, to clean, to do these other tasks that save time, but they also will cut down on the outsourcing that individuals pay. In addition to companies pay for commercial cleaning companies and all these other things. Now, the big thing is warehouses and that type of stuff, deliveries, because now you have a robot, there's no more workman comp claims. There's no more
Yes, Steve, let me jump to the end. 3 letters, UBI.
I agree with you. There's going to have to be UBI.
And
No
like I
question about it.
think the government can organize it in a very simple way where like they'll charge a tax to these companies. Like if a robot replaces a job, you are responsible for, or some way you can structure. You can have a digital tax for allowing companies to use your data to train AI, for example, and then you get paid royalties based on that. And that is a form of UBI because everybody's on social media. The point is, if you then have the human layer of workers that are all going to be displaced, not all, but most are going to be displaced, and then you add this secondary layer, if you can cover the first layer with UBI, the net aggregate benefit is positive because those humans that are like truck drivers or whatever, not only are they going to get UBI, but they're going to get all this time back where they can do extra stuff, which further increases that GDP.
I don't disagree with you, but we have to get there first. And one of the other things is it's not just about Optimus. It's also about AI in general, because look at Microsoft just laying off 2 to 3% of their company, mainly 6-figure jobs. We know Zuck is going to be laying off another round of engineers. And he said by the end of this year, most of his mid-level engineers will be able to be replaced by AI. And next year, it'll be even more. And they will get to the point, he said on the conference call, where almost all of their engineers are replaced by AI with how good the coding is going to get. That's going to extrapolate across the tech industry. And all these people that went to school for computer programming, learned Python, and all these other codes, their skill sets are going to be obsolete. And it's going to be more inputting and making sure that things are in the right places and the vision is correct.
Sure.
But it is going to severely in the short term. Long term, I think it is great, because I think we will get to that point. But in the short term, there's going to be so many jobs that are displaced. I don't know that we make it out of that short term because of how quickly that this is going to erupt. Look, the amount of job, I don't think the politicians are talking about. Now, we don't know what they're talking about behind closed doors, but is anybody having this conversation? The only person that had this conversation was Yang back in 2016.
Yep.
And this is happening at a much quicker pace because all the Optimus bots are going to be hooked up to a neural network. Every task that gets done, each robot will learn at an infinite rate. And all these things that people get paid to do and make a living doing, whether it's painting, whatever it is, I mean, these jobs are going to be extinct eventually, and humans will not be doing them. So I'm not saying that people need to work. I'm just saying that people need to be able to afford the things that they need for their lives. And the government needs to figure something out.
Sure. I don't disagree at all. There's 2 factors that I think when you consider them make it really interesting. Number one is that the costs are going to be driven down by the competition. So if I can, spend 20 grand per bot and I can buy 4 bots and then I can rent them out, or I can do that with my car, let's say, or Roy has a Tesla, for example. right now, Roy's Tesla is sitting in his garage parked. But if that Tesla was going and offering rides to people, Roy would be making that money. But what also happens as more people do that is the rides get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper for the actual customers because there's so much supply, and it lowers that overall cost. Number one. So things are going to get cheaper. It's not like, oh my gosh, inflation is so high. And on top of this, you're going to have jobs displacement, which is going to lead into a massive recession. Like, it's going to get equalized to some degree. Now, it's all a matter of velocity of how quickly those displacements happen relative to those costs coming down. But the second piece is also the international piece, because you can arbitrage a lot by having, like, if Tesla was like, hey, we're going to do all these Optimus bots and we're going to only launch them in Asia or Europe, and then you have foreign economies get displaced and all those revenues come into the US. Like, I don't know. That's just another layer of complexity, I guess, for this whole problem.
This is why I always like being an investor, because I know that my job's not going away. Like, regardless of what the business shifts to, everyone needs capital. Whether it's the next Turo startup is just buying Teslas and are lending out their Teslas for full self-driving, or robotics companies, or whatever it is, everyone needs capital. So until we reset the dollar,
Tanner, not everybody's in that position.
I get it, but that's why I think that the people who are listening now are doing themselves a favor by putting themselves in a position to, hopefully future-proofs a portion of their life.
It's a lot easier said than done, though. The majority of people, like, this is going to affect people drastically, and a lot of people are not going to be able to. Oh, if you really want to go down the rabbit hole, I got some predictions. If you want to do it on the after hours, I don't know if I want to say it on this about what's going to happen, but you could see the wealth gap is going to get even bigger. I mean,
Careful,
I think
you're going to get us demonetized.
I mean, that was going to happen with or without AGI and with or without robotics. It was just it's a built-in feature of capitalism.
Yeah, this is going to make the rate of it happen.
I don't know how true that is. Hasn't the wealth gap sort of done this in time?
Dude, absolutely false.
No.
Every 200 and 250 years, it gets to a point of unsustainability. Then you have some type of revolt or world war, and it resets again. It happened during the French Revolution. It's going to happen again. And the only reason it hasn't happened yet was because World War II reset so much global capital that you had a period of economic prosperity and boom afterwards in the rebuild phase. But right now we've gotten so much bloat that it's going to absolutely happen again. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, and this is
Roy,
not
fact check.
This is not like the whole farming thing where 98% of jobs were farm based and now only 2% are. You went through an entire industrial revolution. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't going to be new jobs that are created, but the jobs that are created are probably going to be far and few between, because all the jobs now most of them are going to get displaced. I mean, we saw the beginning of it with cloud computing and ERP systems making finance departments and HR departments scale back because the efficiency was so much. I mean, This is going to be something we've never seen the likes of before.
So there was, and I'm not sure I can find it, but a series of predictions that were at basically 100 years ago, 50 years ago, and so forth, that were like, hey, current population is unsustainable, and for a variety of reasons, like population will absolutely collapse. Some of those are actually before World War I. World War II wasn't really the shift and change that allowed for things to continue moving on. It was just, the fruits of the Industrial Revolution and a lot of very key breakthroughs in medical science, which helped immensely with quality of life, with health, reducing infant mortality. Vaccines were a huge part of this, and really fertilizer. Fertilizer was one of those key breakthroughs when they were like, hey, there's all this nitrogen in the air. We figured out the process, I forget what it's called, to be able to actually get that into a form that we can put that directly in the soil. Used to be that they were looking at these massive piles of guano, these islands basically that are out there that are just filled with, the excrement of bats and birds and different things. And those were literal gold mines, just because they're like, hey, we can actually use this to create gunpowder and we can use this to feed our people. But they saw that was a scarce supply. And so technology really solved that problem. There's a lot more oil than was expected. Renewable energy is now a thing. Technology can solve the problems and continue to, but there's always bumps along the road. And that's one of the question marks, like I have with you guys, is I don't know that there's a solution other than UBI with what's coming. I think there's going to be a lot of displacement of jobs and people, more than we've seen in a long, long time in history. Maybe ever since the United States has really been a nation. Like it's a tough puzzle. I'm not smart enough to figure it out. I hope somebody is. But the thing is, I'm an American citizen. Steve is too. Like you see things like the big beautiful tax bill. Not to get too political, but like, man, there's a reason why. And going back to what Teva said, as far as like Tesla, that thing, Elon in wartime mode, he's like, hey, we have to grow the GDP of the United States, otherwise we're in serious trouble. And so he's shifting his focus to try to do that through Optimus, which between AI and between robotics, there is a fantastic chance that happens. Like if it works, there's a fantastic chance that happens, but at a cost of a huge displacement in the way that we currently exist, work, and have our lives. It will bring abundance, but it will also shift people away from basically a work mentality to just a survival mentality. And frankly, people need purpose. So it's a challenging thing. And we need politicians involved. We need business leaders involved. We need civic leaders and pastors involved. Like there's a whole bunch of society that basically has to come together and try to figure this out. Because usually what happens in emergence is violence. Even if there's enough, there's violence that happens. People are mad. People are angry. People are scared. And also a lot of mental health issues. Suicide usually ticks up in those times too. Enemy, just widespread. Read what Emile Durkheim had said, about this a long time ago.
I wouldn't worry about purpose too much. I would worry about people being able to afford to live. Because look, if you didn't work, I'm sure you would be able to find things, if you didn't have to worry about money, to occupy your time and enjoy life. Everybody has a lot of interests. I think that if people were okay with money and they didn't have to work to be able to feed their families, and they had enough money where they could just do whatever they wanted, people would find purpose in other things. It's the fact that people are not in a situation where they're set up for the rest of their lives, and a massive outflow of jobs is going to occur.
It's not okay. So it's partially that, Steve, but like, I think the money problem is going to get solved. It's just a matter of how that wealth is redistributed, because these are massively deflationary technologies. Like if I have an army of optimists working on something, as opposed to an army of factory workers, the optimists are going to work 7 days a week, 24 hours nonstop, no complaints, no sick days, no vacations, whatever, and you're going to produce way more, and it's going to drive costs down naturally. It's just a matter of how do you distribute.
So let me ask you this. So when we built our new office, I was in charge of the build out. We took 80,000 square feet, and the company that built it, I would go to the job site 2 days a week. In the beginning, there was at least 200 to 300 laborers there at any given time. I mean, they put the entire thing together. It was a building in New York City, and we took a floor and a quarter. Floors are 65,000 square feet, and it was a shell. It was just concrete. There was nothing there. The framing went up so quick. I mean, legitimately, 200 to 300 laborers there at any given time. The pictures, if I show it to you, you'd be like, Jesus Christ, it happened that quick. But if that's all optimists,
yeah,
like I get the whole deflationary thing, but how is everybody going to work? Like, how are people going to be able to
honestly, guys,
let me give you an example. Like, what if for each of those 200 to 300 laborers, what if, like, just as a thought experiment, everybody got a free Optimus, and they had their not digital twin, but their robotic twin, let's say, and those Optimists were paid the same as those laborers, like the same wage, essentially, as if it were those laborers. And then the actual human gets the salary that the Optimist would get. In this case, you essentially create these, robotic versions of people that go into their actual jobs, that do the work, that are more productive. So the business gets some utility, some efficiency, because they're paying as though they have 200 humans. They pay the exact same wages, but they get more output. So there's efficiency unlocks there. And then those 200 humans are getting a salary essentially from their Optimus bots working for them. So like, I mean, it's a thought experiment, but that's something
No,
that
I like that. And I think that's one of the best things I've heard too when I bring up these points. I applaud you because that is really brilliant. The problem is that companies are greedy, and you would have to put laws in place where they would have to do exactly what you just said. And the other thing is production. You need to be able to get enough out there to do that. How much time is that going to take? But I do think that what you said makes sense.
I think some degree I've never let go of the idea of, through UBI or universal high income or whatever the heck Elon saying these days, is going to be through some sort of taxation of token creation or just general work from robots that they're
There
going to
isn't
tax
enough
it.
global GDP to tax in order to give people enough money to live.
Say that again?
There isn't enough global GDP. This isn't just an America or Canada problem. It's going to be a global problem. There is not enough global GDP to tax in order for everybody to have enough money to live.
I don't know how true that is. I mean,
I,
they're having enough feeding us by paying us our income.
Yeah, I don't think that this will be an issue. Like we're basically looking at two things. So either AI and robotics are going to be so disruptive because they bring out so much output that people are actually displaced from the workplace, in which case there's plenty. We just have to figure out how to tax robots, labor, something. I don't know what that'll look like. UBI can be in there. I don't think it's a great solution. I hope we don't do it. But people are not going to starve. They'll be able to survive. They may not be able to thrive. But I think that biggest question is purpose. And some people, Steve, and I think Tevis, maybe you said this too, are very good at finding purpose, but a lot are not. And the reason why you can find that is, well, especially as people age out, younger people, I think will be fine, maybe. But a lot of older people, like get with somebody that lived with a spouse a long time, had kids. Kids are all moved out, the spouse dies. Usually if that's a man, they struggle and then they die very quickly. Like there's a few exceptions out there, but that's just kind of the way it is. Less so since women are a little bit more gregarious, or they tend to be, but it's a real issue. And I did find real quick what I was referring to, if you'll want to throw this up, Tanner, just so people can research it on their own. It's Thomas Malthus, specifically predicted in 1798 mass starvation that would happen because of rapid population growth, and there's just not enough arable land out there. And of course, this prediction, like so many others that came before and after it, did not materialize just because technology and innovation were there. It's that whole saying, and I think Elon has quoted something like this: "that necessity is the mother of invention." And capitalism is a part of this process too. So people will be fed. They'll have homes. They'll be able to live, but that's not thriving. Like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, those intimate needs you need to live, those will be satisfied. But people need more than that too.
Roy, do you play golf?
No.
Okay. I would say anybody who plays golf will be just fine.
Yeah. And fish and those sort of things. But
yeah, I mean, people, look, in all seriousness, if I didn't have to work, I would probably not set an alarm, wake up whenever I want, start working out again, watch CNBC, and then go play golf in the afternoon and relax, have coffee, go out to dinner. I mean, pretty easy to find purpose doing things.
I had a conversation with Steve. I knew that's why I laughed whenever you said, well, I don't think the purpose part matters that much. Because I had a conversation with you a while ago, and I think it was about me like leaving my job and how happy I am now. I was like, yeah, my mental health is much better. And I think you called me something along the lines of like a sissy because I quoted that my mental health was improving or something like that. I was talking about something that you did not believe in at all. And
because if you're busy, you don't have time to think about your mental health.
I don't know if that's true.
I mean, mental health never comes into my mind because of how busy I am.
I also think that I think we're just different people,
Yeah,
like my brother doesn't quote his mental health at all, but I don't know.
I would never think about my mental health because I probably have poor mental health because I don't stop working. But I mean, if I didn't have to work, I'm pretty sure that if I had enough money where I didn't have to, I would be just fine and I would not be bored because there are things I would like to do.
Yeah, but that
Well, I
might be
think
the
a lot of
concern
people
too,
are
is
like
that if people aren't as busy, that they would start to,
I
you
mean,
know.
I will tell you this: if I didn't have to work as much as I did, or as much as I do, I would definitely take care of my body way more. I would definitely work out again. I don't have the time to work out the way I used to, or do the things I know I should be doing.
Bro,
Without a
that's
question.
honestly, that's
That's
why
what I'm
I'm
doing.
absolutely health maxing right now, on the off chance that like uh maybe money doesn't matter that much. I am going all in right now on my health, and it's
And
freaking
that's great.
amazing.
But you have the time to do that.
So
Yeah.
Jimmy had a good point that for I think you guys are exceptional and exceptions, and probably a lot of people that are listening that are thinking about investing in that sort of thing. They're not the normal average person. And so Jimmy said, look at Indian reservations. They got their needs met, but are people thriving there? Are they happy there? For the most part, no. There's exceptions and there's exceptional people, but for the most part, those are miserable, dark, hard places to live in and be in. Whether those are reservations in Alaska or they're in Arizona, it's tough.
Boy, Steve's got a dairy dealer.
I mean, I don't know if I would say it's a dairy dealer.
That's a pretty good way of putting it, though.
I have somebody who I text my order to, and I pick it up on Sundays.
He's talking about all this custom milk or whatever he's getting.
No, listen. Do you, in all seriousness, do you like milk?
Not really.
Okay, so I love whole milk. There is nothing better than pure farm whole milk. It is so good.
That's why you're so strong, right, Steve?
No, it's not. I'm not, dude. I am not strong. I don't.
He's
In all
jacked like
seriousness,
Superman.
I do
Roy
not
saw
think.
it.
I
I
do
saw
not
it.
think I could put up 225 8 times. I really don't, and it hurts me to say that because it's like I feel like such a freaking like I need to go to the gym tomorrow and just like start lifting again because I can't. I don't think I could do it.
I love like your relative sense of scale. You're like, dude, I'm not strong. I can't put up 225. It's like, yeah, most
No,
people
eight times.
can't do that.
Like I think I could get it up maybe 3 times these days.
That's
I
not
couldn't
average.
get it up.
Not good. Yeah, but
I couldn't get up to 225. I don't want that clipped out
Yeah,
of
but-
proportion.
Yeah, but Tanner, you got to
Got
remember.
a lot of hymns listeners. I don't need any advertisements. I didn't mean it, Google.
Like I was much stronger when I was working out, and like mentally, I know that I am neglecting things that are going to be not good for me right now, and even worse in the long term. I just don't have the time to prioritize it. My sleep schedule sucks. I think I sleep 5 hours a night. It's not good.
Yeah. Can I show? I just brought this up. Dude, look at this.
It's
I
boring.
am maxing right now.
So how are you sleeping so well?
Look at that. A 97 out of 100. I'm in the top 2% for my age group. Because I go to bed, pillow down, beautiful mattress.
Yeah, I have a beautiful mattress too, but at the same time, it's very hard for me to get to sleep, and then I get up at freaking 7 o'clock every morning.
You got to do all the tricks, Steve. You got to have a weighted blanket, keep your room extra cold. Like
I keep my room cold. I sauna before I go to bed. Hot shower. Like I want to go to bed with my body really hot, and then cool down a ton at night because you want to keep your brain nice and cold.
Yeah, I live in Houston, so that's tough.
Yeah,
I
and
need
then
to
whenever you
start-
wake up, you want to get real cold again.
I need to start taking
Sorry,
more.
you want to get hot, so you cool your body down. You cold shower.
Yeah, I do not have a good sleep schedule by any means.
Well, do it because it's freaking.
No, I wish I could get 8 hours. I don't get to bed till 12:30 or 1. I get up at 7. Takes me a while to fall asleep. It's just not good.
This maybe causes me too much stress. Not because if I held SoFi stock and no one knew about it, I would sleep fine. But the fact that I've got thousands of angry people that text me each and every day, whether they hate me, they're so happy they've purchased, or they're so happy they hate. It's just the most bipolar audience. And now Steve's even a part of it. He's even bashing through us, but Whatever.
I'm still bullish for the time being. I'm just not liking a lot of things that I'm seeing.
You're more bullish on Google than SoFi.
100%. That's not even a consideration.
I don't want this to start, guys. This has got to end immediately. Ladies and gentlemen, whether or not we're going into UBI, whatever next environment that we will be in, it's important that, you know, potentially they set up some sort of system that allows people to get paid out in UBI. Maybe it's government accounts that end up getting spent through debit cards. Maybe Galileo sets that program all up, and SoFi is the ultimate tech platform for the next age of payments. Who knows? That's why I'm betting on SoFi. No, I'm kidding. Thank you all so much for watching. Really do appreciate your time. But bye for now.